Looks like we just had a few people join. I can get us started. Welcome everyone to our Student Government Open Forum with ASCC and SFC. I will go ahead and get us started with an agenda here. So we're gonna do some introductions here at the beginning. So you'll get to meet both teams, at least the members that can make it today. We also have another open forum, so please look into that, and I'm sure we'll have other team members here. All of our team members will be at least one of these open forums, but you know, classes and such. So we'll go over what is ASCC and the structure, what is the ASCC executive branch, then we'll go over what is SFC and their structure, and we'll also go over just the basics of ASCC, what we do, and students, staff, and faculty will just do a Q&A. It's obviously open to anyone, so please hold your questions for that time. Thank you. So we'll get started here. I can get started with introductions. My name is Taha El-Wafadi. I am the ASCC president. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a second year here on campus and a social science major. I'll just call on you guys in order on my screen. Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the vice president, which also makes me the SFC chair. I am a second year biology major here at OSU.
Thank you. Marichelle.
Hi, my name's Marichelle. I am a senior here at OSU with the Liberal Studies program. I'm also director of student advocacy with ASCC, and I use the pronoun she, her, hers.
Thank you, Marichelle. Travis.
Hey there, my name is Travis. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a member at large on SFC, and I'm a second year in the Tourism, Recreation, and Venture Leadership program.
Awesome. Emil.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Emil. I use pronouns he, him, his, and I am a second year psychology student, and the position I hold on the student fee committee is the club coordinator and club sports coordinator position.
Thank you, Emil. Mads.
Hi, my name is Madeline Gwynn. I use she, her, hers. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs with the ASCC, and I am a second year American Studies major. Thank you,
Mads. Islam.
Hi, I'm Islam. I'm the I use he, him as I'm currently the vice chair, and I'm an interim treasurer until we hire anyone. And I'm a second year bio major. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Justice.
My name is Justice Zito. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am the secretary for SFC, and I am in my third year as a biology major at OSU.
Thank you, Justice. All right. Am I missing anyone? I think we got everyone who's here. All right. So what is ASCC is going to be our first thing we're going over here. It stands for the Associated Students of Cascades Campus. And it is OSU-Cascades Student Government. It currently has two branches, the ASCC Executive Branch and the Student Fee Committee. Together, we work on serving the students of OSU-Cascades. ASCC and SFC are self-governed bodies, so we're advised by a pro staff member, which is Kristen Martin. You may have met her, but that is our pro staff advisor. So ASCC, exec, and SFC work as checks and balances system for one another. So anything that ASCC or SFC votes on, we ratify through the other committee. So whatever decisions we make, including constitutional changes, go through two committees before they're approved. Yeah. And then, so there's some examples of some stuff that gets ratified, if that helps out. The student fee budget, the student fee in general, any discussions about that. We also participate in conversations around tuition. Although we're not the deciding factor, we do get to give student input at those meetings. go to this next part. So this is our student services slide. I'm going to let Marichelle, who's our advocacy liaison, just walk through a couple of these, and then I will also explain a couple of them as well.
Okay. So the main things that we work on with student advocacy is for our food pantry, our safer living kits, and the childcare subsidies. For our food pantry, currently right now, we're offering 3 options for students. You can access through a link that will be provided in the description below, but that will be in person, so physical resources on our food pantry, where you can order like a customizable kit to be made, and then we offer a grocery gift card, so a $50 grocery gift card to local grocery chains in the area, and then also $50 worth of Beaver food voucher forms. And then with the safer living kits, we have hygiene items, personal stock of hygiene items, anywhere from menstrual to contraceptives to tooth dental care, as well as shampoo, conditioner, lotion. We wanted to make sure that everyone had access to items for equity. And then with the childcare subsidies, which is really important, just to let people know that we have 10 spots available, so 10 children fund for the Little Beeves childcare program, but also off campus. So keep an eye out. The deadline for the next spring term application will be April 9th, and then the final deadline will be April 16th. So keep an eye out for those. And please apply, because we have more than enough to support our student parents and support childcare costs during this uncertain time. In addition to that, we offer the Equity Lounge, the CET passes, course reserves for certain textbooks. Right now, currently, we're working on a housing subsidy, and that'll operate similar to the childcare subsidy, where people apply and then a committee decides what would or who would be approved for these applications. So in addition to that, currently right now with the legislative session with OSA, which is Oregon Students Association, we have been lobbying for OSU-Cascades in higher education at the lobby at the Capitol. You want to cover the rest, Taha?
Yeah, I can definitely go over that. So we do have a graduate position or a graduate representative position on ASCC that still hasn't been filled. So any graduate students who'd like to apply for that, please feel free, and it's still open. Diversity and equity programming is run by Michael, our diversity coordinator, who couldn't make it to this meeting, but he is definitely working very hard on that. I know we've partnered with OSU Corvallis on some remote events, and he's working really hard to have an equity lounge in these next buildings that we're going to get, but also we're trying to, he was setting up a rotating equity lounge in open classroom space. So he'll be able to touch on that more. And I know his email was in there earlier, and we can also just put that in the chat. So funding for veterans programming is run through Zola in the financial aid office, and she does a wonderful job. We fund that with student fees, and she sets up a lot of events. So if you know any veterans who aren't involved with that, I know there are a lot of veterans that already are, and Zola is very welcoming and does a lot of good work. So there's that. And then campus development funds are through SFC. You can apply for up to $700 in student fees to go to campus or professional development conferences or events, and it can cover travel and food, but since the university isn't doing travel this year, we haven't been able to fund travel as much, but obviously if you still have costs for online events, we can do that as well. And then club funding, we do fund all the clubs on campus through student fees, and that's why we haven't had any clubs thus far that have had any membership fees or anything like that. So they're completely free to join, and it's run through student fee committee. So, all right. All right, now for ASCC executive branch structure. So obviously it starts up here with the president, but then the vice president, who's Elizabeth, also serves as the SFC chair. So she's the head of the student fee committee. which is technically a branch of ASCC. And then we, the checks and balances system that I explained earlier is how it's run. And then the Director of Legislative Affairs is right under there. All three of these positions are elected. So the President, the Vice President, and the Director of Leg, who's Mads, me, and Elizabeth. And then here are the other positions on our on ASCC. We are still looking for a Graduate Affairs Coordinator, like I said. But there's that. And then, so in normal years, we would go to the Capitol to lobby, but Mads has been running some really great online lobbying through Zoom. So those have been going really well, and we do that every year, whether we're advocating for the Student Success Center or other higher education initiatives in general. We like to do that every year and get OSU-Cascades students' voices heard. But yeah, there's that. And then here's the structure of Student Fee Committee. I'm going to let Elizabeth walk through this as she is the chair.
Yeah, thank you, Taha. So at SFC, we have myself, the Vice President, also the Chair of the Student Fee Committee. We have Islam as the Vice Chair, and then we have Secretary, Treasurer, Campus Development Coordinator, Club Coordinator, also the Club Sport Coordinator, and 2 members at large. And we are advised by Kristen Martin. We currently do have the Club Coordinator and Treasurer as open positions that are listed on our website. If you go to OSU-Cascades/Student Life, you can find the listings on there. And as far as what SFC does, we are allocated the funds from the incidental fee that you guys pay on your bill every term. And the Student Fee Committee is in charge of divvying up to all different programs. So to ASCC, to Cascade Adventures, to the different clubs, club sports. We also have the Campus Development Fund that is available for students to request funding from. And so, yeah, that's what the Student Fee Committee does, is we spend a lot of hours every week dealing with funds that are allocated to us and making sure that they are used appropriately and properly, and that the students are getting the best use of the student fees.
Thank you, Elizabeth. All right. And so this is just a list of those programs that Elizabeth was touching on that SFC, or Student Fees in General fund. Obviously ASCC and SFC, the 2 governing bodies. So ASCC does propose a budget to SFC, and all of these other allocations also go through SFC, and then the final budget's always ratified by ASCC, just like we talked about in the ratification. But we fund a lot of the events through Events Council, Student Life Marketing, clubs and club sports, like I touched on as well, and that goes through Emil right now, but there is an open position. Cascade Adventures is funded through student fees as well. The Fitness Center, intramurals, Veterans Services, Campus Development. So we touched on that $700 that you guys can apply for through SFC, and there's an online form. Just look at our website. And transportation services. So normally we used to pay for the Bend ride share that used to go between here and COCC and here in the Graduate Research Center. So we're looking for a way to fill that gap and working with Casey and transportation now that that's no longer in business, and trying to find transportation for these upcoming years for students. And then obviously equity programming through ASCC and SFC. Lobbying efforts, Mads runs most of those. Mads' position, Leg Affairs, runs our lobbying. And so when we do take trips to the Capitol, those are paid for with student fees. And then we also do fund a lot of buildings. So we're paying $5 million. We've committed $5 million to the Student Success Center. And we, pay building fees, obviously. So there's that. All right, and so this is just a list of things that's required of all ASCC and SFC members, just to give you an outline of our what our duties are and what we do in our positions. So we all attend all of our meetings and are expected to act as a student voice, represent the interests of all students, engage with the student body to get feedback and input, which is this open forum, and we try to have one every term and really reach out to students through our positions. And then we are expected to hold a minimum GPA of 2.5. And if you are interested in any positions for the participants, if you're interested in any positions, please do apply. They're, good learning work and super interesting stuff, and we would love to have you all on the team. So, and then the other requirement is also that you're at least a part-time student, which is 6 credits. And yeah, for these, this is for the elected positions, but holding your office from commencement to commencement. So I started obviously after the last commencement in my vice president role and took over for Jade after she left. And then we use Robert's rules. So for all of our meetings, we use Robert's rules, and we have public comment sections in all of our meetings, and our meetings are listed on our website. So if you just look up OSU-Cascades SFC or OSU-Cascades ASCC, our websites will come up and you can find our meeting links there. They're all public meetings, so anyone is welcome to join. All right. And there are our public meeting times for winter. Obviously, we're almost done with this term and we'll have new ones for spring. We do decide them right before the term because we have to, account for everyone on the team schedule and pick an open time that works for all of us. But we get it posted on the website as soon as we can. All right, I believe that's it. Does anyone else have anything they want to add before we go to questions? Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so if you're joining us virtually or in Obsidian, please ask any questions and we can work through them as we go.
Looks like we already have some questions going from Obsidian Talk.
Awesome, I just got there. Okay, so when will we be able to see on-campus in-person group activities and outdoor outings again? So for this one, it's really reliant on the state, the county, and the school's general guidelines. Right now, we're looking at possibly having more events in person this coming spring term, as COVID numbers have been declining and it's a possibility. But obviously things are very up in the air as far as when we'll be able to go completely in person or be able to really run events, as the numbers fluctuate. If we go into the high risk category that we were in for much of the beginning of this term, we're not really going to be able to have in-person dining or in-person events at all. I know Obsidian just opened back up, so we're looking at the university is looking at letting us do events in person more and more as numbers decline and it becomes safer for us to do so, if that answers the question. And then let's see here. What is the long-term commitment for student fees for childcare? Elizabeth, do you want to answer this or do you want?
I would say Marichelle. She attends the. Yeah.
Awesome.
So what I have advocated for with ASCC Advocacy for each term, not including summer, has been 10 spots, and that is for the full funding of 630. So we have about 6,300 for each term. This will be decided with future teams, but for now, that's the current amount that is allocated for our student parents, especially during COVID. We understand that this is really important and can be the deciding factor between staying in school and not staying in school, because childcare has become very complicated in the last year. I would advocate for this to continue, as well as this program needs to have support so we can support our Little Beads childcare, which, if no one knows, that's out of our grad school or out of the graduate center. We have a on-site childcare facility that's run by staff, students and faculty that are managing an early childhood program, and they have early learners, and then also anywhere from like young, very young, almost baby. I think the youngest participants are about like 1 or 6 months old. So with that, we need to support that program in order for it to run. And currently right now we have under 10 children in the program, but they have more than enough room to facilitate for more. We set up a future projection of around 40 at full capacity, including faculty, student parents, and then possibly opening it up to the community in the future. So I think the main thing is that for people that are student parents or who care about student parents and their rights, just actively voice that concern to the ASCC team. I will fight for this as long as I am in office, but I am graduating, so this needs to be continually asked for and advocated for by our team, but also by the student parents and people that care about these initiatives on our campus for the future years to come.
Thank you, Marichelle. Elizabeth?
Yeah, I would just add to that. I had a conversation with Lori, who is overseeing the childcare. She also is over dining. And they do understand that the part-time childcare that is currently offered from, I believe it's 7:30 to 11:30, not realistic for a lot of student parents and even faculty parents. So she did just recently email me and ask me to write something up for her. As a student parent whose children did attend Little Beavs childcare, they loved it and thoroughly enjoyed it. The only issue for me was that it wasn't offered all day, so it was more work than beneficial for myself to take my kids and then have to rush them back home before their classes started. So she is working and seeing what she can do in relationship with the state to provide possible all-day care. She doesn't want the program to die by any means. So they are working really hard as far as the child care center goes.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Marichelle. So this next question is, how do you rank funding priorities for student fees? I can start off a little bit. So every year we have a spring budget hearing. Normally we have one budget hearing. This year has been a special year because we've tried to give students student fee reduction every term to account for, in spring we funded a lot of things that were no longer possible for this year, like transportation and stuff like that. So we were going through the budgets of all of the student fee funded organizations every term this year to find reductions that, events that weren't going to be possible anymore, stuff like that, and return that money to students. It is a very hard time financially for students, and we're trying to make sure that we do the best we can with student fees. So student fee committee has worked really hard on doing that every term. Normally it's just the spring budget hearing. Student or all the organizations that student fees fund, including clubs, come in. We have these really long, 2 or 3 days on student fee committee, and we work through all of those budgets and prioritize, the things that we believe students are going to use the most or that are going to be the most useful for students. Obviously, this year we've really prioritized student resources, trying to make sure that the food pantry and childcare subsidy and all of those resources for students were well funded, as it is an extremely difficult year for students. But does anyone else have anything to add? Elizabeth?
Yeah, I guess as far as like prioritize, it's hard because when we look at the budget as a whole at the end of the year, rather, in the spring, when we do our spring budget hearing, all the different programs bring us their projected budgets, and we attempt to accommodate everything. We look at their budget and see what do feels necessary. If we're tight on funding, we will ask them to adjust their budgets. After that, it's up to each committee to divvy up their funds and decide what their own priorities are. So that's not really in our control. The only programming that SFC does have control over are the Campus Development Fund, course reserves, and that's transportation, really. After that, if people do need additional funding, they can come back to us and request more funding. And at that point, we look for money where it hasn't been used, and we will pull. So we do our best to accommodate any and all requests, but for the most part, the different prioritizations of everything, even childcare subsidy and housing, is under ASCC. So after we allocate them funds, it's up to them to decide the prioritization.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. The next question is, how have the ASCC/SFC priorities shifted now that services on campus have changed? I would say what we just talked about, really concentrating on student resources and making sure that those are accessible. I know we had the food pantry on campus, and it was only accessible on campus, and Marichelle worked really hard to get grocery gift cards that we could send to people, which are still available, to make it more accessible for students that can't make it on campus or that weren't on campus. But just accommodating our resources to a more remote world, for sure. Anything else from anyone on that? Okay. The next one is, I think the housing subsidy is a good idea and would help students stay enrolled at OSU-Cascades. What is the plan so far to offer this service to students? So I can touch on this a little bit. I know, yeah, Elizabeth?
I think Justice was going to answer this one because he's on the committee.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the best person to contact regarding like the details of it would be Michael Tornata, and he is the student inclusion coordinator on ASCC. But as a committee, we've gotten the green light to start planning, and our first meeting is tomorrow, but the services would only be offered next quarter. And as a committee, we would approve the applications that come in.
Awesome. Thank you, Justice. What can students do to advocate for state funding for the Student Success Center? How can they get involved? Mads?
Yeah. So we're going to be doing a lobby day for OSU Cascades on April 14th. The intention is for it to be kind of an all-day event, but we want to kind of make sure that everybody can get in. So once registration starts, hop on it. Even if you're not sure you'll be able to make it to every meeting all day, it's going to be on Zoom because we're not yet allowed in the Capitol due to COVID restrictions. Other things that we're doing, there's going to be, and I can get this all to our marketing guy and he'll get it up on all of our social media. But we will also have a voter voice campaign for the statewide extension services and a lobby day for that on March 24th. There will be an all OSU day on May 6th. And then we'll be trying to get a letter writing campaign going for OSU Cascades specifically. And then if you ever just want to email your legislator and be like, hey, I really, really care about the Student Success Center. You guys should vote for it. That works too. Anytime that you're just sitting there and you're like, wow, I wonder how I could help, call, email, write a letter to your legislator. And if you don't know who your legislator is, you can use any Oregon legislator, or you can look them up. There's several really great websites for finding your state legislator. But yeah, any form of support is great. You can also email me if there's a concept you have in your head that you're really excited about, or you can't think of anything to help with. you can always email me and ask. I can always help you with that. So yeah, there's lots of ways to get involved and lots of group ways that are coming up to get involved.
All right, thank you, Mads. So here's a question. Is there a way to get more produce in the dining hall or food pantry? I have a grocery shop. I have to grocery shop off campus to get enough fresh fruits and veggies. Marichelle, do you want to answer this?
So currently right now, we've always had the intention of doing Fresh Food Tuesdays, but because of COVID restrictions, we haven't been able to do that on campus. We've had conversations already with the dining hall about ordering mass produce and having days where students can come and get the items. It's just we're waiting for the green light to actually have that option available to our students. One way we were trying to mitigate that is by the $50 grocery gift card program, because you can use that on whichever. Just because of safety and food regulations, we can't have produce overnight. We can't have any items that can spoil overnight. They have to be shelf stable, and we don't have a fridge that we can use that's designated specifically for the food pantry. So we've just had the issue of, if we do a bulk order of produce and then no one shows up, or only a minimal amount of students show up, then all that produce goes to waste, and that was like a waste of our funds. So we're trying to make it more accessible for students. With the coming spring term, if we have clearance from the state and there's less restrictions on campus, then we would love to bring that back, as we have more than enough funds to do a quick run to Trader Joe's or do a bulk order through our dining hall, so we can offer more fresh vegetables and produce. Another thing that probably won't take off until next year, but I have put it out there and I will make sure my successor knows, is that we want to do a text alert program where students will be texted if there is any kind of dining or catering event on campus and there's leftover food or produce, and those students will be texted to come and pick those items up as like a first serve, like first come first serve basis. But with the current COVID restrictions, we just have a lot of limitations in what we can actually do when it comes to fresh produce, which is unfortunate, but that's just the reality.
Thank you, Marichelle. We have a question about clubs, so I'll read that. Clubs and events have not been as active in person on campus. Why and where did the money go that usually supports those types of activities? Emil, our club of sports and regular clubs coordinator at the time right now, is going to answer that question.
Yeah, so although our clubs haven't been very active in person, this is mainly due to the COVID regulations right now. It's very hard to organize events for 6 persons or less from 2 households. So they've mainly transitioned toward virtual events. Our regular clubs have been holding speaker events, workshops, virtual community service as well. And most of their funding goes towards resources for such events. Additionally, all of our sports clubs are practicing in person as from this week. So they mainly use their funding for nutrition and other resources for their practices, as well as registration fees for the virtual competitions they have been participating in. And then on the other hand, we have some general club funding as well that doesn't belong to any specific club, which has been used for our club officer trainings, our virtual club fairs. We have money set aside for club startup as well. And then we have furthermore other line items and funding that further support club events. And then many of this funding also went towards our student fee reductions that we made in fall term and winter term. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, and Also, clubs was definitely an area in which transportation funding and stuff like that we found a lot of that, and definitely a lot of that went into the reduction. Emil worked really well on reaching out to clubs and finding out stuff that they weren't, or money they weren't going to use, and went into the reduction that was returned to students both fall and winter term. And then we also have been, as far as events go, Cascade Adventures has had some outdoor trainings and some certifications. Abiding by, you know, COVID regulations, they've been able to do some stuff, and I know that they've had you know, hoodoo lift tickets available, and yeah, so all the organizations are doing what they can under the current regulations. I know that beginning of winter term was super quiet just because we were in that extreme risk or high risk area or category in the Deschutes County, so we weren't able to really do much. All right. It looks like the next question is student life hiring, and where can I find a job posting? Elizabeth, did you want to answer this one?
Yep, so Student Life is hiring, as we kind of went over in the slideshow. So ASCC actually currently needs a graduate student representative. SFC is looking for a treasurer and a club coordinator. And there are probably other positions and other committees, but the listings can be found on our website at OSU-Cascades /student life. Not only that, but because we're going into spring term, all of our positions will actually be listed again. And at that point, everybody is welcome to apply for any position, as well as run in the elections for one of the 3 elected positions. So keep an eye out for that. The marketing will be probably rolling out within the next month. And yeah, we would love to have you guys. Student Life is a really fun experience. You gain so much personally and professionally, and you get to make money while doing so.
And I can screen share really quick and just walk everyone through just how to look it up. You just look up OSU Cascades jobs. It's probably the easiest way to get to it. And then under prospective employees, under human resources, if you just open that, you can search current job postings, and not only for Student Life, but for any on-campus positions. You can pull up you know, some requirements, which obviously for us is like students, and then make sure you have the right campus. But yeah, this is probably the easiest place to find job postings. All right. So the question is, what is ASCC / SFC's stance on Black Lives Matter and other social justice initiatives? So since I'd say the beginning of this year, this committee hasn't gotten the opportunity to make an official statement on Black Lives Matter or you know, official statement on any social justice initiatives. I know we have in the past, and I know over the summer we made a statement about the Trump administration's movements on international students, and so did the president of OSU at the time as well, come out with statements against some of those actions. And so I can't speak to the current committee stance as we haven't put out an official statement, but it is definitely something we can do and something we've done in the past in support of many social justice initiatives. Does anyone else have anything to add to that? Marisol?
I believe we released a statement when we had the ICE bus rally in town to Latinx community and DACA students on our campus. Yeah,
very early in the year. I think it might have been before the school year started, but we did, release a statement about ICE. And yeah, does anyone else have anything? All right. How could OSU Cascades be more sustainable with food? Could we build a community garden on campus or get access to local markets for produce? Could we host a Saturday market on campus? Our parking lot would be a great location. Marisol?
Yeah, this is something that I've been really excited about, but because of COVID, we have had a lot of restrictions. When I came into this position, I talked with Jade, but also Kristen and other people on campus about future. And this is future like 5 years out when we have more space on campus, especially with buildings, but there is some talk, especially amongst like the garden club, to rent out community garden space. We were talking with COCC for a bit of renting out that community garden space, but as people should be aware by now that with that, it's a high contact zone. So a lot of universities or colleges have dropped that. I know at COCC that there is no community garden space, and last year when there was a push from the dorm students to have the community garden space, it was dismissed because of having high contact and not being able to be controlled. I think that to continue this, we need to advocate for it on our campus, but it is in the plan in the next 5 years. Also, when it comes to local partnerships, I've looked into current local partnerships with like Locavore, where you could buy a contract or adopt a farm, and then they would provide produce back with us. The main issue is just, again, that we don't have a fridge and the license to operate a fridge on campus, as well as we're limited in our funding, and we wanted to prioritize the grocery gift card program because that's a way that we can reach rural students and students that are out of state. And if we dedicated all our resources to something like buying a contract with Locavore or doing an adopt a farm, that would take away from those resources. So in the future, I would love to see this program expand, and with the lift of COVID restrictions, I would love to see students advocate for a community garden space. And just one of the most simple ways you can do that is just write to us like ASCC and express that interest so we can advocate for you at our meetings. Again, we have to be realistic with COVID and with the possibility of a high contact area and not being able to regulate that. In addition to community garden space is very limited right now. The ones that are currently operating in Bend are already rented out. So the main thing would either be looking at doing a partnership with COCC with their huge garden space, or doing our own, but that would be in the next 5 years with our building expansions.
Awesome. Thank you, Marichelle. The next question is, how does ASCC / SFC represent student voice within the university? How is our voice communicated with administrators? Elizabeth?
Yeah, thank you, Taha. So there are many different committee meetings held every week, actually with upper administration, the leadership team, with Ops Council, even meetings with OSU Maine. And at all of those meetings, a representative from either SFC or ASCC attends, which is another big part of our job description. And what our to do in those meetings is to take notes of what they expect to happen in the future, bring those back to the committees, and then attend those meetings again, bringing back feedback. Something that I know many of us have done, I know for sure myself and a few others, is in classes, now that we're virtual, we have often emailed our teacher ahead of time and asked for like 2 minutes at the beginning of each, or at the beginning of a class, to speak on things that are important, and then just let people know who we are and that you guys are able to reach out to us. It is hard for students to know exactly how to contact us if they don't know who we are. However, now that we're here and you guys are seeing who we are and what we do, and we've showed how to access our website and our emails, we encourage students to email us, reach out, ask questions. We would be the leaders that you go to give feedback for things that you're hoping to see in the future, because it is our job to then be the representative of the students and take that information to the higher ups.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And then what is ASCC / SFC's thoughts on the proposed legislative bill to separate our campus from Oregon State University? I'm gonna give this one to Mads, our Director of Legislative Affairs.
Hi, so the bill to separate Cascades from Corvallis is actually, it has the potential to be a really big deal because one of the things that would happen upon our separation is it would make us a technical and regional university, which means we can no longer hold doctoral programs, which would kill our new doctorate program that's in the works that I believe is starting this fall. And so that's a major issue that would come up. The other things that come up are a lot of the programs that are available to other TRUs in Oregon are only available to us through Corvallis right now. For example, like our Disability Access Services program feeds into the Corvallis one. For a long time, our cafeteria and housing was dependent on Corvallis. Like we have a lot of things that are interlaced with main campus at the moment, and it would be very premature to separate us at this time. We're optimistic that this bill won't pass, especially considering it was proposed by a single legislator that was not at all related to either campus, with no communication towards the legislators that are in the areas of either campus, but especially not our legislators. So we're optimistic that the bill won't pass, and we're just going to kind of keep our heads up. If for whatever reason it does end up going to committee and it does gain traction, there will be a lobby day for it, and there will be voice from OSU Cascades, and there will be all of us students going out there and explaining what our opinion on it is. So one way or the other, they will hear us, and they will make a decision that is in the best interest of the students. That is what our thoughts are.
Thank you, Mads. And then there's a follow-up question. It looks like, does ASCC have representation or a connection within dining services to advocate for more produce in the Beaver Dam? We don't have a representative that is dedicated to dining specifically. We do work to represent students around campus, and I know it can be difficult for students at large to communicate with administrators or people who run different departments like dining. So when students do bring us concerns, we do take them to administrators and find the right person to talk to. But we don't have any, direct say. It's not a student fee funded organization, so we don't have any direct say over what they do, but we can definitely express student concern to administrators, in this case, Lori, I believe, but Lori Waters. So yeah, if there's ever any concerns, even if it's not under the purview of student fees, your student leaders can advocate for it on an administrative level. All right, let's look at the next question. When will sports teams hope to be able to travel, especially cycling club? Emil?
Yeah, that is a great question. Due to COVID-19, all our sports clubs, all our clubs in general are currently not allowed to travel. However, as our cases in the community decrease and more people get access to the vaccine, we are already looking at possible ways to have our sports clubs compete and travel in the safest way possible. Hopefully by the end of spring term, early summer, and this would likely involve getting tested by the TRACE program we had at OSU-Cascades upon return from the competition travel.
Thank you, Emil. So we have a question here that's, I am a whitewater kayaker. What activities are available to me through OSU Cascades? I would say probably Emil, you want to go?
Yeah, I can add a little bit to that answer as well. We have a paddle club on campus that would love to get out there and kayak more. Additionally, I know our Cascades Adventures, they are offering jobs as trip leaders, which also involves leading kayaking and rafting trips as well as, or you can also just participate in these trips. And I believe we also have a whitewater kayaking class on campus.
Thank you, Emil. Let's see here. How can students get involved on campus? Where can we find event postings? So a lot of event postings go on our website, but we are starting to use campus groups. So Quentin Comis, our marketing coordinator, is a good resource for if you have like questions about campus groups, but just downloading the app, it's pretty intuitive as far as logging in with what school you go to, and it's super useful. You'll get push notifications, all the events will be on there, and it will tailor, the app will tailor itself to you and make sure that you know about the events that we're working on as a student government. The other ways to get involved are obviously, you know, the jobs we just talked about. I think the way I got the most involved was joining student government, and the way I learned about most things was joining student government or having a job on campus. I worked in housing for a while as well. And Emil, obviously, if you want to touch on clubs as well.
Yeah, so clubs are a great way to get involved. They participate in many of the events that are organized on campus by Student Life, as well as other organizations. They also host their own events, which are led by them, and they are self-governing groups. So definitely, I would say join a club. It's a great way to get involved, get to know more people, and get to know more about our campus.
Yeah, and I know that there are also teachers that are, or professors that are doing research as well. So if you get the time to have a connection with your teacher, obviously you have small class sizes, and just getting involved with research is also a super interesting way to be involved on campus. Does anyone else have anything for that? Elizabeth.
Yeah, one more way that people probably don't think much of is just getting involved on campus is being a TA or a tutor for a class that you enjoyed, or a class that you didn't enjoy and struggled with. For instance, chemistry was really hard for me, and then the next term or the next year, Dr. Geddes actually reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to TA, because it would really help me to understand the concepts. So even myself not doing too good in that class, the professor was like, you're going to get better if you actually apply it. So and that's support for your fellow students, and they are paid positions. So you're paid, you get to support your students, and you get to learn more about something. If you're not passionate about it, or if you are passionate about it, then you get to help in that way too.
Looks like this next one's for you too, Elizabeth, but what is OSU-Cascades' commitment to sustainability? What plans are there to make our campus more sustainable in the near future?
Yeah, so I don't know a whole lot about this, but I do know what SFC and ASCC are doing to address this issue. I don't know, like as a campus, what administration is trying to do. I don't know that. So if anyone knows more, feel free to elaborate. But when we did one of the surveys that we put out, the student life surveys, we did find out that a good percentage of students, like more than 50%, would support a green fee initiative. So we have talked about in the student fees, charging an extra $1 or few for us to turn green over X amount of years. One of our student representatives last year was really passionate about that and started that initiative, and because he left, it was kind of dropped. So I know we are actually bringing that information back, because we do want to address that, and we do address it in different ways. For instance, we really want to cut down on our posters and paper usage by maybe getting digital screens. We haven't actually been able to make that happen yet, but it is something that we are working really hard on, tandemly with marketing. So we are pushing for that. SFC and ASCC is in full support of the digital screens and how much it would cut down our carbon footprint with paper that we print. So we need your guys' voices. If you guys want to see that and support that, please reach out and let us know. Along with that, we recently, Marichelle found out about a program called Ant Flow, and they are like 100% organic, natural, eco-friendly biodegradable feminine menstrual products that we, starting in spring, will put in every female and gender neutral bathroom on campus. And we will then take those products out of the Safer Living Kits, those products that were not biodegradable or eco-friendly or organic, and we will start offering that. And again, that was a huge cost that we had to decide what the benefit would be and what it would do for our students. And because of the results of the Student Life Survey and students telling us that they support that, we went ahead and are making that happen for the students. So when we hear about things, we definitely make an effort to make them happen. But before we knew about AntFlow, we didn't know about it. So if you guys know about things that we could be addressing or implementing into our school, then we are so happy to hear about them. So as always, you can attend an SFC or ASCC meeting and have a chance to present something. I don't know if anyone has any other information.
Oh, I think that was everything. Does anyone have anything? Thank you, Elizabeth. So the next question is, what advice do you have for students who are struggling to manage their academics and other life commitments during the pandemic? So I'll just get us started. I think it's really useful that we are a smaller school and you're not like one of 100 or one of 200 people in your class. So just make sure to reach out to your professors. I know I've had some really good professors these past couple terms that have been really accommodating and really understanding of the situations. And I think that most professors are. Just reaching out to admin, I think the care team. I know Natalie is our counselor here on campus. So if you need that help as well, and they will all work with you, especially the care team. Kelly Smith is one of the people on the care team that you can reach out to. Those are all people who can help you if you're struggling with academics and just life in general. If you need help with any of that, it's definitely something that can, that it's a resource that you should use. And does anyone else have anything? Marichelle?
I would like to say that in the last year, we were approved for TRIO support services, and that's specifically for students that are low income on FAFSA, like Pell eligibility, disabilities, and then also just for first generation students on our campus. And they have bona fide programs that are through OSU Corvallis, but we have counselors on staff at our campus. That is a great resource that if you are eligible, definitely apply for that, as well as looking at community-based resources. Like there's the Goal Savers program with a neighborhood impact where people can apply, and that's for rural, but also generally looking at people from minority backgrounds. And it's a program where for every dollar you put in, they match you for that. And then in addition to that, I feel like, again, just taking advantage of our mental wellness resources, taking advantage of our food pantry and different resources on campus through TRIO, but also on our campus, we have tutoring services and we have disability services for people. So just contacting those services and seeing if you can get extra help off campus. I know that that's a very accessible service. And then also just outside of OSU-Cascades, but at COCC, if you're a dual enrolled student, then they have excellent services as well to support students with tutoring and testing and disability support. So I think that overall, we have a lot of resources, and you can always email me or anyone on this team if you have questions, and we will try our best to find the person that has the answer if we don't know it.
Yeah, and also financial aid office through Zola. She's super helpful, and just your advisor that helps you, find your classes and stuff like that. They can help you with a lot of things. If you need to take a term off, if you need to take time off classes, they'll know the people to contact as well. So setting up a meeting with them is always a really good idea. But yeah, I think that's everything I have.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. We will be back here this Friday night at 6 p.m. for more questions, and we'll kind of do the same thing. So we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.